Hello and welcome to the Herdline Podcast, hosted by Trace Johnson and the Herds Headset. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode where the Headset and Trace talk all things Marshall athletics. Be sure to follow us on X and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Now, sit back, relax, and let's talk the herd. Hello and welcome back to the Herdline Podcast. This is episode number 7. This is the Herds Headset as well. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And we have a action-packed episode for you today. We are going to be talking about future games that we are excited for, some scenarios of some games that we would like to see on the schedule for football in the future as well. And overall, just some ideas that me and Trace both have. So it's going to be an action-packed episode. It's going to be a great one. This is something that both of us are very passionate about, and I'm sure that all of you listening too are passionate about as well, as we all love herd football, and we love it even better when there are very fun games to be played. But before we get started and dive into the episode today, Trace, how you doing, man? How's everything going on in your life?
I'm doing great, man. Just getting back to work today. Had a nice 3-day weekend there. That's always nice. And yep, got back to work. Absolutely freezing cold today. That morning bus duty was really rough. It was rough. It was freezing, but yeah, it got through it. And now I'm looking forward to this. Really looking forward to this episode. And you know, like you said, both of us are very passionate about this kind of subject. So I think we're going to have some really cool ideas. I'm sure we'll probably have a lot of ideas that Herd Nation as a whole has. So that'd be awesome. And as of just a little bit ago, we've got a little more talk about what the scheduling side of things too. So yeah, it's going to be a good episode.
Yeah, and so as of this recording, this is January 20th on Tuesday, and there's been a couple big breaking news segments that have taken place this week alone. Trace just mentioned in a second ago, Marshall has scheduled 4 different games starting in 2030, ending in 2033 with the University of Toledo, old MAC rival. And so that is awesome. We'll get to talking about that here in just a little bit. But before we kind of dive in to all of the scheduling and stuff, I do want to just say this. Today, just a couple of hours ago on social media, our quarterback has made a very big announcement. Carlos Del Rio-Wilson has basically declared to Herd Nation that he will be returning for sure in 2026. And so you've heard us kind of speculating a little bit in the past couple of episodes. Will he stay? Will he leave? We don't really know for sure. He's kind of quiet whenever it comes to rumors and different things. But today he did make it public. And so we definitely have a quarterback one for next season. But with that being said, too, Trace, there was a really cool thing that I saw just the other day in the transfer portal. Khalil Wilkins, a 6'3", 200-pound quarterback that is transferred into Marshall from West Virginia. And this guy is just incredibly fast. He is a dual threat quarterback if I've ever seen one. I was able to watch a couple of Mountaineer games this year, and I remember him playing. I remember that he had a pretty good skill set. Not the greatest passer in the world, but definitely very skilled as a runner. And he had 243 yards on 58 carries with 2 touchdowns on the ground last season and only appearing in 4 games. His passing stats, not the greatest, 16 for 36, 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But still yet, West Virginia was down last season. They could not get a whole lot of anything going on the offensive side. But he was somebody that I do remember seeing and kind of break out in a couple of games here and there, making some noise. So we've got an interesting quarterback room right now. Carlos Del Rio-Wilson, returning starter. Khalil Wilkins coming as a redshirt freshman. Zion Turner returning as well. So that's really a loaded quarterback room, and that's something definitely to be excited about for next season. But Trace, what do you think about this whole Del Rio-Wilson coming back and really just what that will bring to the team next season?
I'm thrilled he's back for sure. I'm thrilled that there's no more questions about it. I know there's been a lot of talk, is he going to get his waiver? Did he already get his waiver? Is he coming back? Is he not? I know, a lot of talk about all that. And I'm so thrilled that he's coming back because I think he's got, as a final senior season type deal, he could have a huge year. I truly believe he could have a huge year. He's going to have better targets around him this year, I think. Better. We got a lot of returning good targets, and we got a lot of players that are going to be new coming in as well. And I think the offense is going to be better as a whole this year. And quite frankly, having Khalil Wilkins come in there, that's going to create a good battle. Like that's at least going to say, you can't just sit there and rest on your laurels, so to speak. You're going to have to fight for this job because, like you said, he's not a very polished passer at this point, but like he could grow into that still. And his athleticism and his feet and his abilities to run the ball around are very much evident. And in today's landscape of college football, you pretty much have to have a quarterback that can move like that. We had a guy, obviously Del Rio-Wilson is able to move like that, but not nearly as quick, but he can run you over. And he, obviously we saw what he did last year with the single most yardage rushing for a quarterback in any season in Marshall history. So like we saw what he can do. So I think we're going to, and the fact that Zion Turner's still there. He's just a kind of good glue piece to have in the quarterback room. Like you said, I know we both have said it, that he's a solid backup quarterback. That's not to be disrespectful. He's a solid backup quarterback who can lead a team if he needs to. So I really like our quarterback room a lot more now than I did just even a few days ago, quite frankly. I think it's going to be really good competition. And I think the Herd's offense is going to reap the benefits from that. So I'm looking much, much forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And I want to just say this too, while we're on the subject of the transfer portal. We're not going to go into all the details today. There's been a couple moves that have been significant, but one that has made me very excited, and I'm sure it has for you as well. Jamarion Wilcox, a 5'10", 191-pound
Yeah.
running back from Kentucky. He was Kentucky's leading rusher in 2023 as a freshman. He didn't play last season. There were some off the field things that ended up proving not to be, really effective moving forward. And so
Yeah.
now he's been able to transfer into Marshall and really get another shot. And I think that was a relationship that probably Brad Lambert had whenever he came in.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, this guy is a fantastic running back.
Yeah.
And we will not be suffering. We are what I would consider to be one of the premier running back colleges. It just seems like every single season there's
Yes.
just another guy or two guys that make their way into record-setting performances to award conversations. So I think that he'll be definitely somebody to watch this next season, and I'm excited about that addition as well. But with that being said, as we stated at the beginning of our episode today, we're going to go over some things as far as the scheduling is concerned. And like I mentioned there at the start as well, too, uh, schedules is very important. It's something that will bring people into the zone. It's something that gets us fans talking out throughout this time of the year in the off season. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some games that are coming up in the schedule, things we're looking forward to, maybe even things that we're not looking so forward to. And then we'll end up talking about some games that we would like to see, as well as some dream games, some scenarios that just may be way out there. But overall, just was something that we would like to see. So I think that way we ought to do this, Trace, is we just kind of go back and forth here.
Yep.
Why don't you start us out? You can talk about some games that right now are indeed on the schedule already that you're looking forward to, maybe also not looking forward to, and we'll just start the conversation there.
Yeah, sounds good. So I wrote down the future out-of-conference games that we've got lined up, excluding Toledo, of course. But so if I remember, I'll add those on there. But 2026, we've got a big road game at yet another blue blood type school at Penn State. I mean, that'll be exciting. I mean, that's probably, I don't know if we've ever played Penn State, so that's going to be an exciting game. In the Matt Campbell debut. Marshall's been pretty successful with knocking off blue blood coaching debuts at home here lately. Notre Dame, we're looking at you. So just saying, Marcus Freeman, he's still got scars from that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not predicting a win, but I'm just saying like that's an interesting game for sure. And then we got a home game against Middle Tennessee. I'm just glad it's not in Murfreesboro. I hope we never schedule them again, quite frankly. Hate playing there so much. But at least we did win this past year. But Middle Tennessee's on the schedule. And then we're at Missouri State, who beat us this past year. And, I don't know what they're going to have coming back, but they seem to be competitive Conference USA school so far. And then we've added to the 2026 slate. We kind of figured it would be an FCS school, and we added Gardner Webb. So, it is what it is. It's another home game. That's all. That's what you had to get. You had to get another home game. 2027 is a pretty big non-conference year. We're at Alabama for the first time ever, at Ohio, historic rival, home against Boise State, huge, and then home against Bowling Green. So that's a really solid non-conference schedule that year. 2028, we're at Wisconsin. We played them in the past. That's a big school. At home against Ohio, at home against Central Connecticut, and at Eastern Michigan. So that's kind of a 1 or 2 game, and then the rest of them are just okay. And then 2029, the only game we have currently listed is at Ohio. Then 2030, we've got versus Austin P at home, and then as well as Toledo now. I think the first game's on the road, so it'll be at Toledo. Then 2031, we're at home against Eastern Michigan, and and then at home against Toledo. I can't remember exactly how it is. I think it's road, home, road, home. I think that's how that series goes. So then and then 2020 or 2032 and 33, we got Toledo 2 more times. So yeah, I mean, I think there's some good games to look forward to here. I would say the ones that I'm most looking forward to definitely is at home against Boise State. That's my top one for sure. They're going to be a Pac-12 school moving forward. Hopefully they don't buy us out and that the game actually still happens. I would love that. That'll be a sellout crowd, I think, at the Joan, no doubt about it. And then the next game I'd be most excited for is probably at Bama, just because that's a rare kind of thing to have. Kind of like when we played Notre Dame, we really kind of went in with low expectations, but we were obviously very much over exceeded expectations. But it was more for the fans were more excited to be just because of the fact that we're playing that level of a school. And I feel like that's the same way with Bama. At Penn State's going to be an exciting game. I mean, Happy Valley, that's a historic venue. I mean, that whole thing, that's going to be exciting. Hopefully Marshall can give them a good game. That'd be great. And then I'm looking forward to the home and home with Ohio. I mean, I think it's great to have Ohio on the schedule. Love playing them. I don't love playing it at Peden Stadium because we always usually struggle there, but it's a great series. That the Battle for the Bell, that's probably our best all-time historic rival. So good to have them on the schedule. And I didn't have this wrote down because we didn't know about it, but very much looking forward to the 4-game Toledo series as well. So we got a lot of good things looking ahead. A couple of those FCS games and a couple of those Eastern Michigan and Missouri State kind of stuff and whatever. I'm not super excited about those, but I understand why they're on the schedule. So, but overall, yeah, I think it's a pretty good outlook moving forward for the schedules.
Yeah, not bad. And to your point, 2026 slate is one in all reality that I'm just not that excited about. Penn State's always a fun game, and you'd mentioned about the history of Marshall Penn State and everything they played. I will say this: we have played twice in our history. 1929 and 1930.
Wow.
Last time that we played together, Penn State did come out on top narrowly, 65-0.
Oh, we were right
So,
there. Yeah.
yeah, we were right there in the game the whole time. It just kind of got away from us. But anyway, so we'll have our third ever appearance, and so that's always fun. We hate to be the team that gives Matt Campbell their first loss, but somebody's got to do it, and so we'll plan to do that hopefully on the first game of next year. But I actually plan to go to that game. I'm hoping I'm able to work that out and whatnot. So that's an exciting one, sure. But the rest of it does nothing for me.
Yeah.
I don't care one bit about playing Middle Tennessee State at all.
No, no.
Like you said, I hope we never play them ever again. Not because I'm scared of them, just because I'm indifferent about them.
Right.
That will likely be, it'll be a decently attended game, I suppose. It's early in the season, and weather's still good and all that good stuff. But I hope we never ever schedule him ever again. And then the same with Missouri State. I don't really care much about seeing us play them whatsoever. I do hope we get a nice little shot back at them this season. Half the team, more than half the team, is gone that beat us
Right.
last season, but still yet I'd like to be able to take them to the woodshed. 2027 is the year. It's the year of all the years. Got Bama, which I'm not excited about, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
However, it's still one of those games that we just have kind of got accustomed to playing. That big first game of the season. So, we'll make some money, head down to Tuscaloosa, maybe shock the world. We'll see. That's to be
Yep.
seen. But like you said, Boise State, that's the big one on our schedule right now. Two blue bloods in the G5. I would say Mount Rushmores of the G5.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a lot of fun. I'd say a near sellout there at the Joan. Ohio and Athens, always love to play them. Like you said, our longest tenured rival, the closest school to us. In my personal opinion, we'll get to talking about this a little bit. I'd love to see that game played every year. I
Every
just
year.
would. And that's always a fun game no matter what. And then we got Bowling Green in 2027. And this is a game that, in all reality, I'm hoping that we put up 70 plus points in. I'm just tired of Bowling Green and the issues that they have caused us just
Hmm.
unnecessarily throughout the years. And I want to see a slaughtering.
Yeah.
Give me the song "Jar of Hearts" playing after the game is over, and we've got guys in the locker room at Bowling Green contemplating life, not even football, just life in general. That's the kind of way that I'm hoping that game turns out. And then I'll tell you what, one game that I think we're not really looking forward to yet, but one that you can put on the radar, Wisconsin in 2028.
Yeah.
I hate to play the top of the top teams like Alabama, like Penn State, like Ohio State, because there's not much of a chance that we have. Let's just be honest. There's just a very big gap
Yeah.
in our program and their programs. And there's a big gap between Marshall and Wisconsin, but I will say this, there's a lesser gap.
Hmm.
We do have a better shot on paper that in beating Wisconsin than we would Ohio State or whoever else. Then you got, like you said, Ohio back at home, and that's always great. That'll be a good game for attendance, maybe a near sellout. Uh, CCSU, I don't even know where they're at, to be honest with you, on a map.
Yeah.
So
Nope.
that's just another FCS game. Um, Eastern Michigan, I hope that game, like we were supposed to go up there, I hope they take that off the schedule for here as well.
Yeah.
I have no interest in playing them. We talked about this before we came on the podcast today. I don't have much interest in playing mini MAC teams.
Mm-mm.
I would say three in particular. With, like you told me earlier, I
Yeah.
would like to see us play Ohio every year. I'd love to see us play Toledo every once in a while, and Miami even lesser than a once in a while.
Hmm.
But other than that, don't give me any MAC schools. I have no interest whatsoever. Going back though, thinking of 2026 very quickly, Gardner Webb is coming here. That's interesting. That's the return of Cole Pennington.
Hmm.
Little known fact, he is the starting quarterback down there. And so he'll be coming back to Huntington. And so that should be a nice little fun game
Yeah.
overall, seeing a former son of Marshall, a guy that we all thought was going to take us to the promised land at one point in time or another. So,
Yeah.
we got some exciting games. For the most part, nothing really wows me. I think that a lot of these games obviously are the product of Christian Spears, and Christian Spears did a lot of wonderful things for Marshall, but one thing that he did not do great was the scheduling of football games.
No.
And so, there's lots to be desired for with the schedule moving forward. There's a couple intriguing games, but this 4 game series that we just added with Toledo, that's a shot in the arm for me. Like, I am pumped
Yes.
up. I cannot wait to go to Toledo, to the Glass Bowl 2 times. I can't wait for them to come to Huntington. I expect that to be a very well attended game. And quite frankly, we'd do an episode on this one day too. I would love to see Toledo eventually become a member of the Sun Belt Conference.
It'd be
Uh,
awesome.
it would be tremendous. So, that's the games that we've got right now for the foreseeable future. But let's kind of transition and let's talk about this. Let's talk about some realistic options that we could see. And what I want to do is let's just throw these things back and forth one and one. Okay. So you give me one, I'll give you one, and we'll keep on going and rolling with it just like that. So Trace, get us started here. Give us some games, some opponents that you would like to see back on the schedule.
Well, this is a big one right here that I think that we've been lacking for several years now. Quite frankly, we've been lacking this since the Hamrick regime. That was the 2010s was quite frankly the gold standard for Marshall football scheduling. That was it. I mean, and I know it's a different game now. I get it. People aren't willing to schedule you as much as they were then, but man, that was the gold standard for scheduling back then. And I'd like to see that come back a little bit. Now, what I specifically wrote down was I want to see mid to lower tier, geographically friendly Power 4 home and homes or 2-for-1s. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see a bunch of bye games against Alabama and Notre Dame and Ohio State. I don't want to, like, every once in a while, okay, yeah, not every year. I don't want to see it every year. And I understand there's a whole other financial side of things, and I understand that. But that just, besides a payday, that does nothing for your program. Unless you shock everybody and win, which is very, very seldom. Let's just be honest. So few teams that I wrote down for this, these are just possibilities, not teams that I necessarily expect to see. I wrote down Virginia, Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Syracuse, Pitt, who they still owe us, Cincinnati, UCF, Maryland, etc. Those types of teams. That's who I'm looking for. I would love to have any of those teams come to the Joan, even if it's just once, even if it's a 2-for-1. I would love to see that. That would be huge for Marshall, huge for the Joan. And we really flourished in that element back in the day. Like I said, with the Mike Hamrick regime, we had Louisville and Huntington. We had Purdue and Huntington. We had NC State. We had Pitt was supposed to come in 2020. That didn't happen. We had a lot of Virginia Tech, a lot of really solid Power 4 opponents. We had them at the Joan, and we beat a couple of them. I mean, so that's really what our program needs to be doing a lot more. And I get that those teams probably aren't willing to schedule a competitive Group of 5 team on the road because they're scared about it, and I understand that. And I get the argument of they don't gain anything from it. Okay, well, if you're worried about the opponent level and how good they are, and if you don't think Marshall's any good, then why don't you just schedule them? And who cares if you have to go on the road? But yeah, I think that any of those teams would be awesome to have on the schedule. A home and home would be perfect, but a 2-for-1, quite frankly, I'm not even gonna get too greedy with it. A 2-for-1 would be great. If we could get any of those teams to come to the Joan, imagine if freaking Chapel Bill comes to the Joan. I'm just saying, imagine that. So any of that would be great. I would love that, and I think that would bring a lot of interest, and that would boost season ticket sales. That would just be a great thing for Marshall and the athletic department.
Yeah, and any Power 4 team can fit the bill, to be honest with you.
Right.
We saw it with Purdue. Purdue is not a powerhouse. They're not anybody that's special. They're a lower tier Power 4 team, but when they came, man, we were sold out. You said, you mentioned this last podcast, there was never more Marshall fans at the Joan than that particular night.
Never.
There was just never that many. So I want to see teams along those lines, kind of like you were saying. Give me 2-for-1s all day. That's my desire. A lot of the teams you mentioned are on my list. I've got a couple that may be a little different. I want Maryland. You said Maryland. They're not far away. We could travel well to them. They'll travel well to us. It'd be a competitive game. We'd have a good time. Give me Kentucky or Louisville in Kentucky. Both close in distance. Again, great for traveling. We played Louisville a few years ago and ended up beating them. That was Cato's, I think, sophomore season, I believe. Freshman season.
Yeah.
Freshman season. So it was a fun game overall. I remember beating Teddy Bridgewater. That was just an awesome experience. And then they came to us and destroyed us with Lamar Jackson. So, that's a good game, and I really would love to play Kentucky because that gives you an SEC element, but without giving us full SEC, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
And then, if we're going to talk about SEC, well, give us Vandy. That's a great
Mm-hmm.
destination to go and travel to, Nashville area. And they're definitely a team to which year in and year out. Right now they're on a high, but year in and year out they'll be more competitive with a team like Marshall. Cincinnati, one of my favorite games to play.
Yeah.
That is a non-conference, just close in distance. They're always pretty competitive games, a lot of fun. Virginia Tech as well. I'd honestly like to develop with them the most friendly rivalry in America.
Yeah.
We've played them many of times throughout the years, and it's always just been a good experience. Although we've not won very many of them, it's still been fun. Their fans are great. They
Yeah.
always are very respectful for us. Going down to Blacksburg's a great experience. So I'd love to be able to do that. And here's one that I think needs to happen sooner than later, and one that makes sense. Give me an old rival, an old MAC rival, an old Conference USA rival. Give me Central Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be just fun, man. It's easy to get
Yeah.
to. It's just a flight away towards Orlando, and then you're right there. There's history there. Of course, there's been some really good and awesome ball games between Marshall and UCF in the past.
Yep.
So I want to see that, just give us that game every once in a while. Again, I'm not asking for it every single season, and I'm not asking for it every 5 years. But, maybe every decade or so, we do a 2-for-1 with them. And that I would be happy with that
Oh
because,
yeah.
again, they're not super high on that level of competition, but still, a Power Four win's a Power Four win, and so that would be a lot of fun. So that's my Power Four teams that I would really like to see. But Tracy, give us some more. I guess you would even say even more realistic in today's landscape because a lot of those teams just will never make that happen because let's face it, the worst thing that Marshall ever did was win some of those games that
Right.
they were involved with whenever they were going up against a power school. So, because they've won some of those games, a lot of schools are not going to really want to schedule them that are a Power Four school, especially a lower tier Power Four school.
Right.
So, with that said, let's talk about maybe some of the lower G5 or sorry G6 teams that are out there that you'd like to see Marshall play against.
Well, that was my next tier, I guess you want to call it, tier of games I'd like to see. And this is looking more primarily at mid to upper tier, geographically friendly group of five. That's really what I'm after. Home and home. I don't think you should. I mean, if you're in Marshall's position as a group of five program that's very successful, I would not schedule a 2-for-1 with a group of five. I mean, I guess if you had to, whatever, but like I wouldn't do it personally. But the teams that I wrote down, just kind of off the cuff here, I wrote down East Carolina. I'll go one-on-one about that later on. East Carolina, Navy. We almost had Navy at the Joan once upon a time. Didn't happen. Army, almost had Army. Didn't happen. Memphis, which would be a whole new game right about now. Even before Huff was there, I would have said Memphis would have been a good program to have scheduled because we used to play them all the time, obviously. And they're one of the better group of five programs out there. Western Kentucky needs to be on the schedule. They just do. Even if it's just like a one-off, well, not a one-off, but even if it's just a home and home and at one time a home and home, I'd be happy with that. And then I have Toledo written down, and that was before I knew that they were going to be on the schedule. So I mean, they're already starting to kind of fall into this this way of thinking. And I think any of those group of five programs would be awesome to have on the schedule. They would draw a lot of interest, like I said, when they would come to the Joan, they draw a lot of interest. I mean, East Carolina by itself, I mean, there's not very many programs that Marshall's ever played that have the history that they have with Marshall than East Carolina. I mean, you don't even have to go any farther than the 1970. I mean, that'd be enough in its own right. But then if you look at some of the games since then, the GMAC Bowl and some of the games we had in Conference USA were just great games. I mean, so that would be I love when East Carolina's on the schedule. and it's another geographically friendly game. Easy trip both ways. I mean, that would be awesome to have. Western Kentucky, same thing. I mean, that's not that far from Bowling Green. It's not that far from Huntington. So, like, all those games would be great to have. And I think it seems like Harrison and company are kind of catered towards trying to do those types of games now. Now that we've seen Toledo come out with the 4-game series, I think that's going to open up a whole opportunity, moving forward for other really solid group of 5 programs to come to the Joan and agree to a series. So, I mean, if you want to throw out some random MAC teams, like I said, I really don't care about playing any MAC teams except the 3 we said. But, like, if you want to throw out some random MAC teams or Conference USA teams or whatever, just to fill the schedule, I guess if you had to, that's fine. But it's not what I would do personally if I had my choice. But the teams I said there, I would do those in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Like you said, Western Kentucky. Give me the moonshine throwdown again. Doesn't have to be played every single season. About every 5 years ago, give me a home and home. I'm good with it.
Yep.
East Carolina. I'm kind of on the fence with this. It's good to have a little bit of break every now and then, but at the very same time, with the history that we have, I wouldn't mind it being like I said with Ohio. Let's play this game every single season.
Yeah.
And something that we can talk about later, maybe in the dream scenario, is I would like it if we did play it every single year. Well, let's play it on the 75 week every single
Yes.
season.
Yes.
And I know that's hard with conference scheduling because we're both in different conferences and whatnot. But in reality, it would be a really cool thing to be a mainstay every year and have that 75 game to kind of be nationally recognized. You know what I'm saying? It'd be
Right.
on ESPN, and this is a game where we're honoring the 75. So that would be a really awesome, but although unlikely, but really cool thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, Toledo, that's one that I want. Army and Navy, that's games that I want. I'll give you one that's a little bit out there, and one where us herd fans would have to travel to go to. But I would love it if we would get Wyoming on the schedule,
Be
and
cool.
that'd be just a cool game.
Yeah.
I wish Wyoming was somehow tucked away between Virginia and North Carolina
Yeah.
somehow, because Wyoming, to me, they have every single aspect of a Sun Belt program. The fan base is passionate. The
Yeah.
stadium is cool. The town that the college is in is not very big. I mean, they have everything that a Sun Belt program desires. They're just in the middle of the West.
Right.
So,
Right.
that's the only issue. But I would really love that. I know App State played them a couple of years ago, and they went out west to Wyoming, and then Wyoming came back and played App State there. So I think that'd be really cool to be able to do something like that with Marshall. And I also would not mind to do something similar with that with Utah State. I think
Mm-hmm.
Utah State, again, they're now part of this new Pac-12 and whatever that means even anymore. But
Yeah.
they also reminded me a lot of Wyoming, and I'd like to see that game be able to happen too. I like the close games, and I think that should be the majority. But every now and then, I think it'd be cool to sprinkle in a game where you got to travel,
Yeah.
just for a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are some games, some things that are on my wish list of games that I'd like to see overall. But with that being said, that's a little bit of the wish list. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about our dream scenarios, our best case scenarios, the ones that we desire to see more so than anything else. Trace, what is your dream game for Marshall to be involved in?
Oh, well, there's several things I wrote down for that but honestly, my number one choice, I will lead with that. But there's a couple other things that I think would be kind of dream scenarios as well. But my number one thing, and you've kind of already mentioned it, a home and home or a 2-for-1 with Kentucky. That's my dream scenario. I don't think that they'll ever do it. I mean, I just don't. I mean, they're an SEC school. Why would they agree to come play a Sun Belt school at this point? I get it. But, man, could you imagine the level of excitement and the level and the travel and the fan support that game would bring? I mean, you take I-64 like 2 hours and you're there. I mean, there would be a ton of green up there and there'd be a ton of blue here. I mean, and it would be sold out, both games, sold out for sure. I think that would be awesome. they're a SEC school, number one, but number two, they're an SEC school that's not a powerhouse, so we could compete with them. I just think it would be perfect. I mean, I think you could not get a better series scheduled, quite frankly, just based on everything that we're looking at: geography, level of competition, the conference stature, all that kind of thing. You could not probably get a better opponent, a better deal. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. I've been wanting it for years. I don't think it's going to happen. But maybe Gerald Harris has got some tricks up his sleeve. I don't know. We'll see. But that'd be awesome. And then my other one I said was a home and home, a 2-for-1, or a fair series with WVU. I had put fair on there because we already know that the one that we already had to deal with was anything but fair when you've got a 7-game series and 2 of them are in Huntington. That's pretty much says it all. But that would be awesome. Great for the state. I mean, I know everybody regurgitates that over and over, but it would be great for the state. It would. I mean, there's always so much excitement and like fan support and just all that and with this game. And now that WVU is they have not been a dominant force for a number of years now. You get them down to the Joan. I would like our chances. I do. I would like our chances. And then I also put on here, we need less payday games against like really big blue bloods. We need less of those. And I would love to see some more payday games, one-off games against Power 4 schools that aren't quite as good, if that makes any sense. Like I remember a few years back, we played NC State. That was just a one-off game in 2023. That's the game you said you were at. And we made a good chunk of change in that game. And like NC State's not a powerhouse, but they are a solid school. Some school I wrote down that would fit that mold that I would love to see. Kansas State, we've got history with them. That'd be an awesome one-off game. South Carolina, we were supposed to play them in 2018, but then the hurricane ruined everything. So that would be a game I think we could compete in. Georgia Tech, I think we could compete in that game most years. And this is crazy to say, but Florida State, I would love to play Florida State. That would be really cool to go down there and play one game against Florida State. I mean, we could shock a lot of people. Michigan State, we've played them in the past. Another game I'd love to see, a one-off. Nebraska, how cool would that be to go to Lincoln and play Nebraska? I mean, that would be so cool. And they're not that great. We could compete in that game. But if we had to play a one-off game against a blue blood, quote unquote, I would like it to be against somebody that we haven't done yet, like a Texas or an Oklahoma or a Michigan. That would be freaking sick. If we played Michigan at the big house, that would be cool. So if we had to do those types of games every once in a while, if I was in control when I was scheduling them and I had to do one every 5 years, that's who I would go after. And I think that'd be super cool. But yeah, I mean, ultimate dream scenario though for me is getting Kentucky at the Joan. That's really it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a great one. That's a great one. And I agree with everything that you just said as far as, some of those schools, if we're going to play with those one-off teams, let's get some variety and let's not just go to Ohio State every year, Penn State and Alabama. Let's get it, some other teams on the schedule. But I think though, you've already mentioned it. I think that if you're talking dream games and you're a Marshall fan, no matter what, I'm reluctant to even say it because of the frustration that went through my mind this past go around is West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
And I say dream game because I really do believe that it's only a dream. I do not ever see this game ever taking place again unless something drastic has happened. Because it was right there on a silver platter. We could have definitely scheduled each other. It would have been easily done. Marshall would have gone to Morgantown. Tony Gibson was actively trying to get the game settled, but instead they chose to play Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss, 2 teams in our conference.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's like the ultimate slap in the face to Marshall. And honestly, it's ridiculous that the game is not on the schedule as of right now, and at least in every couple of year type of situation. But the craziest part of this mentality, in my opinion, is the fact that other schools around the country easily make a in-state game rivalry happen and it's a yearly basis for some, or it's an every once in a while for some,
Yeah.
and it's always well, brought. Whenever I'm going through the channels and seeing some of these games, like, oh yeah, hey, that's a pretty cool game. Some examples: Oklahoma State and Tulsa, they play every season.
Right.
Miami, Ohio versus Cincinnati, they play almost every season. UNC and NC State versus App State, that's always a game that's in the works. JMU versus Virginia, that was recent. Old Dominion versus Virginia Tech, that's always a thing just about every season. Colorado State, that's an every year thing. South Carolina and Clemson going against Coastal Carolina. Penn State and Pitt going against Temple. NC State and ECU. So the list goes on.
Yep.
Other teams around the entire country make this happen, and you cannot tell me logically that West Virginia and Marshall should never play football again, because what do we have, or what's it going to gain for us? That's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard.
Makes no sense.
And WVU fans will, have this better than us mentality and look down on Marshall as a whole just because of the 12-0 thing. But you mentioned a second ago, this is not 2012 anymore.
No.
West Virginia in 2012 is not the West Virginia that's in 2026. And Marshall that was in 2012 is most definitely not Marshall that's now in 2026 either.
No.
Things change, and some teams rise and others fall. And it's very easy to see that on paper, the last decade, more than a decade, Marshall has done more with a lot less of a program wise than West Virginia ever thought about doing. So
Facts.
the reason the game is not played is really because of idiotic politics, and it's a mindset of entitlement. Just play the game.
Let's play it.
You said it. It's good for our state. It showcases our state for the entire nation. Usually played on one of the weeks to where there's not a ton of interesting games to be played. It's good to be able to have that fan engagement all throughout the season. We'll banter at each other all year long.
Yeah.
I'll plant the flag and I'll die on the hill against West Virginia, and they'll mob you, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's interesting. And it's good nationally to expose the state of West Virginia to the entire country. I'll say it this way: it's a shame the game is not played. It needs to happen, but I'm also to the point where this last go around where they've decided to just schedule same teams within our conference and just completely ignore our desire to play each other. I just don't think it's going to happen, and quite frankly, I'm not even mad about it anymore. I'm okay if we never play again, because I'm just so tired of their side of things.
Yeah.
It's just the sense of entitlement, but without having their results to back it up anymore. And it is what it is. It's a dream, and that's probably all that it's going to be going forward.
That's exactly it. And it's sad that we're at this point with it, because like you said, it couldn't make any more sense. I mean, to have the game and the only reason that the Friends of Coal Bowl series happens is because Joe Manchin pushed for it. And that was how high up you had to go to have it happen. It's like it wasn't even because they necessarily wanted it. That's just how it worked out. But man, they made sure to get that contract worked out to where they could have all those games at Morgantown. They made sure to have that happen. And then the two games that they actually came here, I mean, we made them sweat bullets. I mean, both games, so it's like that's not hard to see why you wouldn't want to be back in that situation again. I mean, those were not very good Marshall teams going against WVU in their peak era, and we had them on the ropes. Both those games, we had them on the ropes. We had them on the ropes in '07 for 3 quarters until the 4th quarter, and then we had them on the ropes in 2010 the whole game. So, I mean, it's not hard to see. It's the same mindset of, like I said earlier on, how, those mid to lower tier Power 4 schools like the Dukes and the North Carolinas and the Wake Forest and all those schools, while they don't want to go out and schedule a group of 5 team on the road, this is the same mindset, because that's where WVU is. I mean, they're not an upper tier Power 4 school. They're not even close. I mean, so that's the same level that they're at, and they don't want any of it either. And I can see why they wouldn't, but at the same time, if you actually cared about the state that you represent and you actually cared about the people in it, and like that, then you would do this game. but they don't. They only care about whatever puts them out on top and whatever works in their favor. If it's not on their terms, they don't want any part of it. And that's the thing, is like, even if it is on their terms, like you said, when they go out and schedule Coastal and Southern Miss, that's a one-off game. I mean, why you could have easily scheduled Marshall for a one-off game. And as a Marshall fan, I wouldn't necessarily want that, because I would want to see them. I would want to see a fairer series, because we're not a doormat. Like, we're a program that has had numerous Power 4, Power 5 schools come to the Joan in the last 15 years. We've had countless of them, and they're no better than any of the ones that have came. So I would want to see them come here, but it's probably never going to happen. It's probably never going to happen.
Yep, it is what it is. And well, I think Bob Pruitt said it best many years ago when they were asking about the game. They were saying, "Well, you want to play it?" He said the quote, "If you're scared, get a dog. And
Right.
otherwise, let's play." And their MO is spot the ball, right? Why don't you come and play this game? It just doesn't make sense. It never will make sense. But that's the world we live in, and that's just how things are. But with that being said, overall, I think it's a good little conversation today about the future and scheduling and different things. And like we said, we're already seeing the ball rolling whenever we're seeing this 4 game series with Toledo. I think more of those type of scheduling will kind of come out within the next couple years, maybe even couple months, as
Yeah.
more deals get done. So there's lots to be excited about. As a Marshall fan, it's going to be good stuff overall. These next well, this next season, it's kind of a wash. 2027, very exciting. 2028, it's okay. But when you get into 2030s already, it's looking to be very stacked. And so I'm excited about the future of what Harrison is doing, what our athletic department is getting together. And I think there's some big things in store for Marshall football. With that being said, I think that will do it for today's episode. Again, we want to just say thank you so much for tuning in and being a part and listening this far. And we do ask you to try your best to follow us on social media. Thank you so much for all of our followers. This week, we were able to get a little milestone there, over 100 followers. And so we're
Yep.
on the way to 1 million. And so, just little by little, we're working on it. And we appreciate everybody that supports us, listens to us. And we're excited to continue on with this podcast in the future. Trace, you got anything else you'd like to add before we sign off here?
I guess I'm good, man. We're looking forward to future podcasts, and we got some pretty exciting stuff in the works, and yeah, so looking forward to it.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you again for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Herd.
Go Herd.